online learning platform. Dear learners, today we will take up a story named The Black Aeroplane, written by Frederick Forsyth. Written by Frederick Forsyth. Frederick Forsyth. This is the story from Two Stories About Flying. Dear learners, this is a mysterious story. First, what we have to learn that it is a mysterious story. This we have to keep in our mind. This is the important part of it. Now, the story goes like this. The writer was flying his Dakota aeroplane and he was on his way to England hoping to have a good English breakfast with his family. Suddenly, he was caught in a big cloud. His compass, radio, and other instruments failed. There was not much fuel in the plane. Suddenly, he saw another aeroplane without lights on his wings. The pilot of the black aeroplane guided the writer and he was able to land his plane safely. But he was greatly surprised when the woman at the control center told him that there had been no other plane except the writer's Dakota on the sky that night. The Black Aeroplane, written by Frederick Forsyth, is a mysterious story. As we know that this story revolves around mystery, that who was another pilot. So let us go through this story in detail. The moon was coming up in the east. Now, the moon was coming in the east behind me. So here we come to know that yes, the writer was moving towards west. He was moving towards the west. As we know that yes, on the top part of every book or a map, we have north. On our right hand side, we have east, and below we have south, and on our left hand side we will have west. So the east was behind me. It means the writer was moving towards western direction. This we can know. And the stars were shining clear sky above me. So there were stars in the sky as it was clear. There wasn't a cloud in the sky. So there was not a single cloud in the sky. It means we can say that yes, the sky was clear of clouds and we can say the stars were shining brightly in the sky. So I was happy to be alone high up above the sleeping countryside. Countryside we can say here rural part, rural area. Now the writer was happy. Why he was happy? Because he was flying his aeroplane and other people in that area or other people in the world, they all were sleeping, and that is the reason why he was very much happy. I was flying my old Dakota aeroplane. So he was flying his Dakota aeroplane. So Dakota is a kind of aeroplane we can say over France. He was flying his Dakota over France back to England. So he was returning from France and he was going towards England. And I was dreaming of my holiday because why he was returning back? Because he was going on a holiday and he was looking forward. He was thinking that yes, I am going to be with my family. At the same time, I looked at my watch, 1:30 in the morning. So it was the 1:30 in the morning. I should call Paris control room soon. He was thinking that yes, he was just above the Paris. So now he would call the Paris control room soon, I thought. As I looked down past the nose here we can say tip of the aeroplane. I saw the lights of a big city in front of me. So when he saw that yes, the lights were there, so he came to know that yes, big city was there, or we can say France. He was approaching the capital city of France, that is Paris. I switched on the radio and said Paris control room, Dakota DS 088 here. So he tried to control, or he tried to have a conversation with the Paris control room, and he told them that yes, Dakota DS 088 is there. So can you hear me? I am on way to England. And he told them, informed them that he is going, or he is on his way to England. That is what he wanted to tell. The voice from the radio answered me immediately. So just at that time only he heard that, yes, DS088, I can hear you. You ought to turn 12 degrees. So they told him that you should turn 12 degrees towards west. So 12 degree west. So he was moving towards west, no? So he ought to turn slightly this side, towards west. Then over. West now, DS088 over. I checked the map, the compass, switched over my second and last fuel tank. So he switched on his second, and this was the last fuel tank. Turned Dakota towards 12 degree west towards England. So he turned his aeroplane towards England. I will be back in time for breakfast. Now he was happy that yes, he will be just back in England just at the right time for breakfast. I thought a good big English breakfast. Now he wanted to enjoy this breakfast in his native place. Everything was going on well. It was an easy flight. So everything was going on well. So that is why it was a very easy flight. He did not face any problem. So that is why he told that this was a very easy flight for him. Paris was about 150 kilometers behind me when I saw the clouds. So for the first time when he saw the clouds, he was already 150 kilometers away from Paris. So we can say that yes, it was, we can say, a kind of impossible task for him to go back to Paris. This is one thing. Second, storm clouds were there. They were very huge and they looked like black mountains. They looked like black mountains. Now we can say the word like is used, no? Like, or we can say as, or we can say so as, or we can say like as. So when these words are used, we can say there is a figure of speech. Figure of speech. And this figure of speech is simile, because we are making a comparison. We are making a comparison. So when we compare two things, so there is a figure of speech which is called simile. So here simile is used because here the clouds have been compared with black mountains standing in front of me across the sky. Across means from one side to the other. So I knew I could not fly up. So he knew that yes, it will be very impossible or huge task for him to fly up the sky or up the clouds and over them. I did not have enough fuel to fly around them to the north or south, and he did not have enough fuel to go from north side or from the southern side or south side. I ought to go back to Paris. So he thought that yes, I must go, or I should go back to Paris, I thought. But I wanted to get home. I wanted that breakfast. But he did not go back to Paris. Why? Because first of all, he wanted to go back to his home. Secondly, he wanted to enjoy that breakfast also. So he decided that I will take the risk. So why he decided to take the risk? Because first of all, he wanted to get home. Secondly, he wanted to enjoy that breakfast. So in order to have these two things, he decided to take the risk, I thought, and flew that old Dakota straight into the storm. So he flew that Dakota straight into the storm. Inside the cloud, everything was black. Everything was black. He could not see anything. It was impossible to see anything outside the aeroplane. So it was almost impossible for him to see anything outside the aeroplane. As we all know that whenever there is a storm, it becomes very much difficult for us to see anything, or things become almost invisible to us whenever there is a storm. The old aeroplane jumped and twisted. So this aeroplane started twisting and jumping from one side to the other side. So he tried to have some information from the compass regarding the direction. I could not believe. So in this way, he could not believe that he could not believe his eyes. Why he could not believe his eyes? Because the compass was turning round and round. Compass was turning and round, means it was dead. This compass was not working. It would not work. The other instruments also suddenly went dead. I tried the radio, that also was not working. Paris control room, can you hear me? There was no answer. The radio was dead too. I had no radio, no compass. I could not see where I was. So, in the absence of radio, in the absence of compass, he was unable to know that exact location of his aeroplane. Then, in the black clouds quite near me, I saw another aeroplane. So this was we can say this another aeroplane, no, it was a ray of hope for him. It was a ray of hope for the writer. It had no lights on its wings, but I could see it flying next to me through the storm. It had no lights on its wings, but he was able to see through the storm. I could see the pilot's face turned towards me. I was very glad to see another person in this storm. So he lifted one hand and waved. Who? The pilot of the another aeroplane lifted his one hand and he waved. So he gave a hint. He gave a hint that follow me, and he was saying follow me. So he was telling him to follow him. He knows that I am lost. I thought he is trying to help me. So the pilot of the another aeroplane was trying to help the writer to get out of this storm. He turned his aeroplane slowly towards the north direction, in front of my Dakota, so that it would be easier for me to follow, so that it becomes easier for the writer to follow the pilot of the another aeroplane. I was very happy to go behind the strange aeroplane like an obedient child. So once again we can say that there is a figure of speech. Which, what is the name of this figure of speech? Yes, you all are right. It is simile. As we have seen in the previous page that whenever we have a comparison, there is a figure of speech simile, because we have used here a comparison is there. After half an hour, the strange black aeroplane was still there in front of me in the clouds now. So after half an hour, he saw that this strange black aeroplane was still there, and he was following that strange black aeroplane. There was only enough fuel in the old Dakota's last tank to fly for 5 to 10 minutes. It was only enough fuel. That means only sufficient fuel was there to fly for about 5 to 10 minutes. 5 to 10 minutes. So this much fuel was there. I was starting to feel frightened. So the writer started feeling afraid that how he would be able to land safely, as he had only the fuel to fly about 5 to 10 minutes. But then he started go down, and I followed through the storm. So then he saw that yes, the another aeroplane started going downwards, and he continued following the another aeroplane. Suddenly I came out of the clouds and saw two long straight lines. Now we know that yes, what are the symbol of these two straight long lines? We can say yes, he was able to see that it was a runway. It was a runway in front of me. It was a runway, an airport. I was safe. I turned to look for my friend in the black aeroplane. So he turned to look that yes, his friend was there, another friend who was helping him in that black clouds or storm. But the sky was empty. There was nothing could be seen. So here it is the mystery. It is the mystery, He was unable to find that pilot or that aeroplane. The black aeroplane was gone. I could not see it anywhere. So this is the mystery. I landed and was not sorry to walk away from the old Dakota near the control tower. I went and asked a woman in the control center where I was and who was the other pilot. So he asked that lady who was there in the control center. I wanted to say thank you. Why he asked or inquired about that pilot and the black aeroplane? Because he wanted to thank him. He wanted to say thank you. She looked at me strangely. Why that lady looked him strangely or unusually? Because she thought that yes, why he is asking about this another aeroplane? And then she laughed also. Another aeroplane? Up there in the storm? No. No other aeroplanes were flying tonight. Yours was the only one I could see on the radar. So she told him that yes, only his aeroplane was there and there was no other aeroplane which could be seen on the radar. So safely without a compass or a radio, without any more fuel in my tanks. So this was a question or this was a mystery for the writer, that who was that, which was that black aeroplane which helped him with much fuel. Who was that pilot on the strange black aeroplane flying in the storm without light? So this story ends with a mystery, as we are unable to see, we are unable to find out that who was that person, who was that another aeroplane, who was another pilot, who helped the writer in landing safely. So I hope you have understood this chapter. Thank you.